Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Alopecia Angel podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you today. My name is Johanna Dolman, and today we're going to go over the 7 things that I wish I had known about alopecia before healing it, in the midst of healing it, and what this journey would look like. But before I get into that, I wanted to give a shout out to Jeannot. Jeannot and I spoke today, and he had so many great things to say, A, about the program, and B, that he's already seeing hair growth. It's only week 3 and he's already seeing hair growth. So congratulations to you and for all your effort. It's so exciting to see such a young person in his 20s to have the hair growth, to have the health, to be so adamant and open to it. And even though sometimes the next step feels a little daunting or maybe even a little scary, but he knows he's on the right path. And I'm just so excited to share his story with you shortly in a future podcast. I also wanted to congratulate Maria, who's also seeing amazing hair growth and lots of progress in her ancillary symptoms and health conditions and goals. So really excited for her as well. Maria and Jeannot, so excited for you both. Congratulations. This is all a testament to you and to following your personal plan. Before we also get into today's podcast, I wanted to share with you an article that I read in Women's Health magazine. If you're following me on Instagram, it is there. I did do some screenshots. And the interesting part about this Health magazine's article is that it's talking about how certain supplements, certain things are either number 1 recommended online or recommended by your doctor, and yet they're backfiring for many reasons. So I just wanted to give you a little snapshot of that because I said this over and over again about supplements that are not tailored to you, about even medications that cause hair loss. And so I have a free PDF on my website about medications that cause hair loss and also alopecia meds and their side effects. So the rundown here, most of you with hair loss, you reach for biotin, and this is a big no-no. And actually, this is something I don't even recommend taking for hair loss because first and foremost, it interferes with lab tests. Second of all, it's usually in high amounts when you get it at the store. This way, it could also create some sort of toxicity within you. Vitamin E is also something that this article says that people go to and grab either because of a recommendation, because of an internet search, or because they just grab it and think this is what's going to help. And it can increase bleeding risk in high doses. So something to be wary of. Saw palmetto. This is a normal thing for both men and women when it comes to hair loss, especially female pattern baldness. This is actually something that I don't recommend, not even for female pattern baldness. And also, it's not going to move the needle. It really won't. You're wasting your time. But on top of it, it says here that this botanical, often included in mystery doses at extremely high levels, may cause abnormal genital development in male fetuses. So something to be aware of. Another vitamin that this magazine, Women's Health magazine article, doesn't recommend is vitamin A. Vitamin A, which also in high doses actually causes hair loss. Yes, it does. So if you're on vitamin A, or maybe you're taking too much, I would say lower that dose or stop taking it. In reality, you don't need certain supplements all the time. And vitamin A is one of them. You don't need it all the time if you're eating a well-balanced diet. So if you're eating a well-balanced diet, then vitamin A is just, it's already too much. It's going to be too much on top of whatever you're doing. And so this is why we need and we focus on a tailored plan here at Alopecia Angel. So vitamin A also causes hair loss when over-supplemented with. So selenium in excess can cause hair and nail loss with brittleness, along with GI and neurological symptoms. So again, selenium is something that everyone reaches for, or due to either a doctor recommendation or either through an internet search. And this is also something to heed the warning that this is not your go-to. The other situation that they mentioned in the article is that a 26-year-old woman with a history of obesity developed jaundice and was diagnosed with liver damage. She'd been taking Nutrafol. Nutrafol is a all-in-one supplement for hair primarily in the US. For those of you that are outside the US, it may be marketed and sold abroad. I'm not sure, but it's definitely here in the US. And so this article goes on to say that she was taking it daily for 5 months and her labs were normal before starting the supplement. And then they improved after she stopped. So this supplement, Nutrafol, was causing liver damage to her. And so the article is really giving you a cautionary tale about which supplements to take, and that we shouldn't be just taking things willy-nilly. We shouldn't be just doing quick internet searches and thinking, oh, we just need this or we just need that. And we're just going to try to whack-a-mole, as I actually mentioned to a potential client the other day. And the thing is, it's like when you are doing things like a little bit here, a little bit there, and not really targeting in a strategic manner your hair loss, this is where you're wasting time, money, and resources. And I know this firsthand because that's why it took me over 3 years to figure this out for myself. But now with a strategic plan and path, now it's really easy for a new client to come to me, for me to see their blind spots, and for them to hit the ground running and understand exactly what those next steps look like and how to get from A to Z, not just with the hair growth, but then also with other plans that they have, which actually had me trigger a thought. So congratulations to Marina. We just spoke the other day. She's on week 2 of the program and she's already seeing progress. She's already understanding, and she already has her blind spots all in her hand. And guess what? There's more than one. And so that's actually something that I'm going to talk about in this podcast episode, because many people out there are thinking that we're going to get the root cause and we're going to get the root cause of hair loss. But the thing is, there's more than one root cause, and many times it's more than 2 as well. And so that's something for you to understand, that it's never just one thing. You know what I mean? It's never just one thing. Think of it like your car, or think of it like your house. And in terms of maintenance, is it always just one thing where the engine light turns on? Is it always just one thing where the house is not working properly, or potentially there's a leak, or maybe the plumbing, or maybe this, or maybe that? Not always. Sometimes there's a culprit to it. It could be a raccoon in the attic, or it could be maybe some termites, or it could be something else. There's always more than one thing. And so I really want to drive home these next 7 things that I wish I would have known during my healing process that I wanted to share with you. So what I wish I knew about alopecia health and alopecia healing during my time. And number 1, root causes is never just one. It's like a mountain that has small and is made up of small, large boulders, small and large rocks. When you look at Mount Everest, is that just one piece of rock? No, it's made up of multiple rocks and pebbles and things. And so again, because it's made up of many sized rocks, small and large, the challenges and changes needed also vary from small to large. This will change in terms of perspective, in terms of going the extra mile, and also for your health and for your hair. And so again, when you are so heavily focused that it's one thing and one thing only, you're missing the point. You're missing the bigger picture. You're actually treating it like a doctor, just one thing. It's just the hair. It's just the scalp. It's more to it. There's more to healing. There's more to getting the full hair that you want. It's more to 10xing your hair growth and getting that inch of hair and growing it per month like I do. It takes a different strategy and approach. And I see where I am different with this. So I would say, for those of you who think it's just one thing, open your mind to a bigger perspective, that this could be multiple things. Even if these other little things are smaller, they could still be holding you back. Just like with multiple clients, normally when we go through that intake form, when we start having these conversations, when we start looking at possible testing, or even with testing, it's always more than one thing. It's never all perfect and it's just one little thing. That's not how this runs. If that were the case, this would be so easy to figure out. It really would be. And it's not, because it's a bigger situation and you're still believing that it's no big deal, or that is simplified with a supplement or some sort of topical serum. The next thing, number 2, I wish I knew not everyone can help me. This is a big one, because I know that probably you've been the run around with multiple doctors, run around with multiple practitioners, different types of medicines, maybe different types of medical approaches, different people. I will say that whether that was with my alopecia or even understanding the need for testing, this is a big deal, because again, some people don't offer testing. Some people do offer testing. For example, Alopecia Angel offers worldwide functional medicine testing with no markups. This is a big deal, because any functional medicine doctor you work with will have those extra markups. I know this for a fact, because I've also done that and made that mistake. So the thing is that whether the journey is fertility, losing weight, gaining muscles, balancing out hormones, whether that's trying to go through menopause seamlessly without any hiccups, or whether that's trying to age gracefully, or even just be your best self. In this case, grow your hair back and thrive. We need to really be discerning on who can help us and who can't, who has the proof to do, who doesn't. I may have mentioned this before, but I delivered my baby with a midwife. I had no choice. It was midwife or bust. I was never able to have a doctor because in the Netherlands, their policy is not to have a doctor unless you have twins. I wasn't carrying twins. I had one baby. And even though I was 40, still it was midwife or bust. But even within the midwifery, there's different types of midwives. Some that are just graduating and have zero experience, and others who have over 3,000 births underneath their belt, like the one who attended me. Experience counts, expertise counts, and just having the title isn't enough. And to me, titles don't mean anything. It's really results. That's what means more. If I want hair growth, if I want to lose weight, if I want to get a personal trainer, if I want XYZ goal, I'm going to look for someone who's been there, done that. I'm going to look for someone who has the results to show for it. So that's my perspective, and I share it with you because I realize now that the bouncing around from place to place, doctor to doctor, rheumatologist to dermatologist to regular pediatrician to regular doctor to this and that, none of it helped. And I just wasted more time and money and resources and more frustration added onto my plate. Again, I share this out of my own experience, but then also I wish I had known that not everyone can help me. And like with a phone call and asking some hard truth questions, this would have been all alleviated and streamlined, actually. Number 3, I wish I had known to ask better questions. Does this person have results to show for it? Do they offer testing? If so, is this testing available to me where I live? I got the runaround with doctors on all subjects from alopecia to fertility and everything in between. So for example, in the case of fertility, does your person prescribe hormones? Can they help you with hormones? If they can't, next, move on. Because at a certain point, hormones play a big role in terms of fertility. So they need to be well versed in hormones if you want to get pregnant, right? It's like A plus B equals C. You need hormones, you need to understand thyroid, and it's not just about acupuncture or taking Chinese traditional meds or taking XYZ situation for fertility. You have to look at all the aspects. And even in terms of testing, most of you have probably started with hormone and thyroid testing, but is it enough? Did the doctors read it clearly? Did they read it correctly? Did they give you the next steps correctly? This is also part of the problem that I see is that a lot of times, maybe some testing is available. Maybe it's not functional medicine level, but at the same time, some testing is available. Okay, then let's see what that says and let's keep moving along because sometimes maybe not more testing is needed, but maybe it's the right type of testing that's needed. And actually, let me go on to a little tangent here. There was someone who I was talking to here recently, and she told me, I've done testing. I've done the HTMA testing. For those of you who don't know what HTMA is, it's the hair mineral analysis test. This test, to me, is a gimmick. It doesn't tell you everything that you need to know. It doesn't give you the next steps, and it just like leaves you stuck in many ways. So HTMA testing is going to test your hair strand. So what you do, you open up a big part of your hair, you take a big part of your hair and you cut it, ship it out, and the test is anywhere from $20 to maybe $60 at the most. Supposedly, people tout this as like a great first step in understanding a little bit more of as to why we're losing hair, as to why or what things are happening. But at the same time, this test is not foolproof, and it's something I don't recommend personally because the labs that are here in the US, not to mention that HTMA is not a thing abroad, all the labs that use HTMA testing and conduct it, they wash the hair. The problem with that is that when you wash the hair, I think it's all the labs except for 1 or 2, which is finding a needle in a haystack. You don't know which lab your hair piece is going to go to. And so that's the other thing too. It's like your hair is going to be washed, and then a lot of this residue or a lot of the information that they're going to gather is not going to come back 100% accurately. And so that's also the rolling of the dice when it comes to certain tests. Not all of it's accurate. Not all of it is going to be 100%. And so also understanding that that just certain other tests, let's take like a hormone test, this can also fluctuate with our menses, with our cycle. And so you have to have appropriate testing for the appropriate thing that you're looking for. And if you don't, then you're wasting your time and your money again. So what I told this lady who did the HT-MAD testing, I told her, look, it's great as a little backup, but at the same time, there's not much you can do with it. It may have some values there and it may give us some data, but it's still not giving you the next step. So even with that, you're going to still need to take that to a practitioner. And then from there, you're going to need to get the next steps protocol for that. What happens is that practitioner is going to understand that this HT-MAD testing is a joke and is not going to want to take it for face value and is going to recommend a better test. So you see how either way you've lost time and money just with trying to do things on your own. This is why I'm saying, like, many times it's so much easier and better to go with a streamlined approach and have someone help you. I'll give you another example and also a sneak peek. So I'm actually launching a published book here soon, and I'm really excited to share this with you. I have the name, title, and everything, but I don't want to give it away because I haven't bought the domain name just yet. But I'm really excited about this. And this will be a wonderful, beautiful book on alopecia, of course, on hair loss. And I'm just really excited to bring this out to the world. And I look forward to translating this into multiple languages. I know the people who follow me, many of them don't speak English. Many of them want my help. There's that loss in translation situation. This is where I am going to be translating this book into various languages, and I'm really excited about that. If you have any preference on a language, let me know, and I'm happy to add that into the mix. And so going back, I'm looking for a publisher, and you wouldn't believe how daunting this is to find a publisher. And not everyone is going to be able to get you what you want and what you need. Does this make sense? And so even when doing something that's not health related, like fertility or alopecia, but you're looking into, let's say, a mechanic or even a book publisher in this case, it takes a lot of time and energy to try to find this. And then imagine trying to add this on to me trying to do it yourself. That it's almost impossible. It's so much better to pay for a service and to have somebody hold your hand and streamline this so that you can do this faster and easier without having any hiccups. And then they could tell you, hey, watch out for this, watch out for that, and guide you along the way. I think this is the beauty of it. Today, I recorded a podcast episode where I was being interviewed. I've been interviewed actually on multiple podcasts. So if you want to learn more about the podcast episodes and the podcasts that have interviewed me, you can go to alopeciaangel.com, and at the top, it'll say about me, and you can read everywhere where I've been interviewed and listen to those interviews. But this last one that I did today was the topic, of course, about hair loss, but it was also about self-worth. And the beauty of this podcast was that in this discussion between me and the host, we were talking about how self-worth many times comes into play when it comes to investing in ourselves, when it comes into paying for things that are for our health and for our well-being. So for example, if you know my story, I spent over 4 years, and spent over $15,000 trying to figure this out, seeing doctors, traveling from one country to another, state to state, and just in this vicious cycle, obsessive cycle of trying to heal myself. I had no job. I was living off my savings, and every penny was worth it. I can look back now, every penny was worth it. Why? Because not only did I heal, but it's been already like 8-9 years plus alopecia free. But the best part is I already know exactly what I need to do to not ever go back to alopecia. So for example, I've never had hair loss since. I've never had alopecia areata since. It's never come back. And I don't intend for it to come back. Why? Because I know the factors. I know exactly what can lead me down a slippery slope. And I know exactly what I need to do to not get there. It's almost like walking down a dark alley. Do you know which way to go? Do you even know, should you be going down this dark alley? I know exactly which route to take so I can circumvent the dark alley. Does this make sense? So the beauty of this is that it's taught me so much, and now I get to share it with others too, with the book and then also with the courses and everything else that I offer. Going back to the 7 things that I wish that I had known is that, again, I wish that I would have asked better questions, because again, not everyone can get you to where you want to go. Just as like I mentioned with the book person or the publishers, not everyone works in the same way. And so this is really important to understand, to see the whole gamut I also got the runaround with multiple doctors on different subjects. And really, it's about reading between the lines. Many times, the body language of the practitioner, of the person you're talking to, will tell you whether they are capable, competent, and knowledgeable enough to get you to the end result. I will say testing should be a must, and it should be a must in terms of having it in their back pocket and easily and readily available for you. If it's not there, move on. I will say that not always, right? Not always is it needed to test. I healed without testing. I healed without testing because I didn't have access to it. But I guess in many ways, I was one of the lucky ones because many times healing without testing isn't so easy, if that makes sense. And so I think it might have been easier with testing. It might have not. It just all depends. It's hard to go back and rewind the clock and say, but I think what is possible is that if this person that you want to work with has testing, that's already a good way forward. That's a good step in the right direction. So it's about reading between the lines to see if they can truly help, and their body language actually gives it away if they can't. Their silence, their lack of being able to answer a question and respond appropriately, this all gives it away. And maybe they won't say it up front because no practitioner and no doctor or no anyone wants to feel less than or lose face or even lose any type of credibility. But at the end of the day, this is normal. Not everyone can help you. Not everyone is for you. And so finding your people, finding your person is so key. Once I healed, the healing journey, like my obsession switched, right? So I went from being obsessed with the hair loss, obsessed with what was going on, looking at the back of my head, trying to split open my hair so that my husband can take pictures of the bald spots to see if they were growing or closing in or what was going on. And what I realized is that once I started healing, my obsession switched, it pivoted. So it went from looking at things with an obsessive lens towards the hair loss, and it immediate switch to hair growth, health, thriving. And I was already on this trajectory to move forward. But then also the obsession now is about aging gracefully. It's about being my best, whether I'm 45 or 44 or 55 or 60 or 90 or 100. Being my best, not just with hair, but with full, thriving health, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, on all levels, because that's what I want. Those are my goals. And so what I realized too is that, and this is another point in my long list here, is that being healthy, buying organic and doing all the things that I do to be healthy is self-love first and foremost, but it's actually cheaper. It's cheaper than being sick, if that makes sense. It's cheaper than being bald. It's cheaper than having any emotional, mental, physical ailments, issues, and symptoms. It's cheaper than having to run around, waste my time seeing a doctor, only getting prescribed meds or getting prescribed nothing or getting no help anywhere. It's a lot cheaper to be healthy and pay for organic and do all the things that I do instead of live a miserable life. It's a lot cheaper to invest in my health, love myself more, put myself as a priority, and be the best version of myself for my child, for my husband, for my loved one, for my community, for you, and for all the people who want help. It's so much better and cheaper to do that than to be in a situation where everything is affected, because it was mentally, emotionally, physically, all of my health was affected. And that was over 10 years ago now. All of it was affected. And it was all affected to the point where, yeah, you could have called it disability. Yeah, you could have called it lethargy. Yeah, you could have called it like lack of motivation. It was all of that, but it was like hovering over me like a boulder. And it was so hard to get out from underneath. I know if you are experiencing the same thing, I know how hard it is to get out from underneath. But I will say is that investing in you is absolutely priceless. The vibrancy, the energy I have today in my mid-40s with a toddler, priceless, because I have tons of energy. And not only can I just keep up, but I can keep going. And that's what I want. That's the Johanna from before alopecia, with somebody who was like the Energizer Bunny. So much energy where people just were amazed all the time of how much energy I had. And then alopecia came and all my energy was sucked out of me. The life was sucked out of me. Everything was sucked out of me. And then now fast forward, not only am I better, but I'm just so much better where it's just another level. I don't think I actually thought about that during my healing process. My idea was, let me just get my hair back. let me just be like I was before. Let me just be who I was before. And now who I am today is so much better than the old Johanna. And it's not just because of the diet and the lifestyle and everything else, but it's because of, I guess, all the other things that I had to go through to get to where I am, if that makes sense. So understand that this journey won't stop. It shouldn't stop. And just like going to the gym, you can't just go to the gym once a year and think you're done. You can't just go to yoga once a week and think that's plenty. Because maybe it's not. Maybe you do need more. And as we get older, you already know that we lose muscle at a higher rate. And so guess what? Going to the gym, lifting weights is going to be something that we should be doing if we don't want to have falls and fractures and loss of balance, et cetera, as we get into our 50s and 60s, 70s and 80s, and so on and so forth. So just like building muscle compounds, being healthy compounds. And so that switch from being obsessive about the hair spots and the hair loss, switch to hair growth, thriving. It's like, how much more can I compound in my hair growth? How can I double down and 10x, not just the hair growth, but the health, the vibrancy, the skin, the mental agility, preventing all different types of diseases, and setting myself up for a beautiful aging process versus just taking things as they come, being a little leery of what diagnosis is around the corner. That's no longer a thing. I think that was the way other generations were, where they were just like, oops, I got XYZ diagnosis. And that's how I felt with my own diagnosis. But at the same time, now I'm being proactive. And I think we all have that opportunity and that option to be proactive and say, no, I want to be and have all my cognitive abilities and be doing strength training and be doing Pilates and running and walking and going to the beach when I'm 99 years old. Because that's possible for you. You don't have to be strapped to a wheelchair. So the thing is, we get to choose what happens to us. And I think that's the beauty of this, is that, yes, I healed. And yes, when people work with me, they heal too. But then they also have that other light at the end of the tunnel. Because guess what? Even though you're diagnosed in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, or whatever age, you're not going to always be that age. And so you have to look ahead. Does this make sense? You have to plan ahead, not because of the alopecia, but because this is an alarm for your health. This is an alarm. It's a sounding alarm. Having hair loss is a sounding alarm towards our health. And if we don't do things now, it's only going to compound and get worse later. So I hope that's helped a little bit. Here in my notes, I say, understanding that once I healed, the healing journey didn't stop, and it just magnified even more. In all my choices, in my fertility, in all the aspects of aging and future health goals, it just magnified and it put health front and center. Many times, maybe we as people, we have the hustle and bustle of, okay, we got to take care of the kids. We got to take care of the spouse. We got to go to work. We got to do this. We got to XYZ. And the list keeps going on. But I also feel that if we don't put health at the front and center, then we can't be capable or even have enough capacity to handle everything that's given and thrown to us, or that we've accepted as responsibility. Does this make sense? So once we focus and put health front and center, everything else falls into place. That's actually how I see it. The fifth thing that I've learned in my journey that I wish I would have known with alopecia is that you can't help people see what they don't want to see. If someone is so attached, for example, to medications, alopecia meds, let's say, whatever they are, and that's all they want, it doesn't matter the long list of side effects. They still want it and won't deter to it. Only life, setbacks, and worse conditions will make them evaluate other options. Lesson learned, be open-minded. That one in particular is not necessarily what I learned going through alopecia, but it's also what I learned going through alopecia, my own route, in my own lane, being healthy and doing things the natural route, versus going through and seeing from the outside in the lane where people are so attached to medications or to the doctor and the outcome and the quote unquote options there, whether it's medications or whether they don't see that healing naturally is actually possible, or any side of the puzzle piece of this. You can't force somebody to see what they don't want to see. And that's unfortunate, because I know personally, I would love to help everyone around the world with alopecia. But once you start looking at things, you start to see that many times people don't want your help. You start to see that people don't believe that it's possible for them. You start to see that they only want medications, and that's the only way that they want this to happen. If you want to look into weight loss, people they prefer to take some sort of Ozempic or Wegovy or some sort of pill to lose the weight versus get a personal trainer and shed it off naturally. Many times people want the easy route, but the easy route also comes with a price tag. It's not just the money, but it's also the side effects. It's also the health conditions. It's also the poor health. It's also the ramifications later down the road that we won't see now because it's all brand new. But in 10, 20, 30 years, we're all going to see the really harsh side effects to all this that we don't know now, that no one knows now. And lo and behold, it's going to backfire in a big way. And so I realized that you can't help everybody. And I think this is probably the biggest pill to swallow, is that maybe you are a loved one listening to this podcast, trying to help a loved one with their alopecia, and they don't want to hear it. They don't want to see it. They don't want to do anything about it. I say this because I've had many parents who have children, let's say, that are 21, 22, 23, 24 years old. Once the child, who is now a young adult, has made up their mind, they don't want to hear about it. They don't want to do anything about it. They're just sick of being poked and prodded and blood tests here and more needles and more this and more that. They're just sick and tired of it. And I get it. But you're the parent who is relentless and who wants to keep thriving and going for them. I get that too. As a mom, I get that. Or maybe you're the sister or the spouse or the mom or just a loved one for a loved one listening to this. And again, you have to heed their wishes and also help them little by little to see that things are possible for them. But you can't force a horse to drink water. You can only lead them to it. And so that has also been a situation that I've learned the hard way as well. Because as much as, again, I want to help everybody, not everybody wants to be helped, right? Sometimes people have embraced their alopecia and they're happy being bald and they're happy in their disease and they're happy with what's going on. And that's okay. That's their choice. Many times too, they've accepted it, quote unquote, and they've embraced it, quote unquote, and good for them. I was not one to settle. I was not one to embrace that. I was not one to want that for my future. I knew a different future was possible and I made it possible. I think the last thing too is that, again, I think I went over this, but I'll just reiterate that, is that investing in my health, buying organic, and all the things I do to be healthy is cheaper than being sick and bald. I was actually listening to an audiobook from a doctor, and she was saying how over 70% of bankruptcies in the US are tied because of medical issues, medical bills, just defaulting on medical bills and healthcare. And so that's the number one reason of bankruptcies in the US. That's really startling to hear because you have a big financial aspect that's tied to your health. And when they're not in sync, it actually can really ruin you. And not maybe just you, but also your whole family. Medications can really bankrupt you. I've actually spoken to somebody who joined my program. And before joining, he was on the medications, but he told me it nearly bankrupted his whole family. And that's astonishing. It's also heartbreaking because it tears apart a family when you have not just a health crisis, but also a financial one on top of that to boot. These meds, depending on your health insurance, depending on the coverage, depending on what's possible, can range anywhere from $3,500 a month. That's $3,500 a month just for medications to more than that, depending. I was actually talking to a few people and I saw that it was anywhere from like $3,500 to over $9,000 per month just for the medications. In many ways, that's what the system wants. They want to hook you. They want to have recurring revenue on a monthly basis, long-term for the rest of your life. They're expecting you to be on these meds for the rest of your life. And so when we start looking at finances, it actually is better to invest in the long-term, in the natural, in your full health, in your hair, the right way, with the right path and the right strategy. Many times, again, finances do play a part. But I will say, though, that's one thing I've never had a regret on, is investing in my health, because I see the outcomes and they're so clear, whether it was the hair growth, whether it was getting pregnant naturally on my own at 40 and having a healthy baby or anything else. Investing in my health, like I said, the diet and the lifestyle and everything else that I do has been so key to performance, to how I show up, to how I feel, how I love myself, my self-esteem, my confidence, everything. And I know it's possible for you too. So if you're on the fence, if you're going through hair loss, if you are confused as to what's your next step, I'd invite you to go to alopeciaangel.com. There we have many free resources. You have my podcast, you have success stories, you have more information about the Hair and Heal program, my book that's coming out here soon. I look forward to helping you. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to email us anytime. I hope this helped you, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Take care. Thank you for listening to the Alopecia Angel podcast, a positive light in healing alopecia. You can do this, and we can help. Spread the word that reversing alopecia is possible by telling your friends and family.